Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the CFA Top Tips series, where I give you lovely people tips on how to prepare for the CFA Level 1 exam. My name is Ryan and I'm a management consultant working here in London, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to prepare for ethics. Everyone loves a list of three, so we're going to be addressing three things in this video. Firstly, don't neglect ethics. This is a mistake a lot of people make when preparing for the Level 1 exam, and we shouldn't be doing this. Secondly, having decided not to neglect ethics, we'll be talking about how to learn the CFA Level 1 ethics material. And lastly, we're going to be discussing how to practice the CFA Level 1 questions. So let's start with point number one, that's please do not neglect the ethics material. There are 10 syllabus areas of the CFA Level 1 exam, and this is the order they appear in the CFA accredited textbook. However, most preparation providers suggest learning the material in the following order, that's placing ethics at the end of your revision. The reason why they place ethics at the end of your revision is because there are a lot of lists and examples to memorize, and it's best to save this towards the end of your revision period so that you have those examples fresh in your mind. While I generally agree with the advice given, and is the approach that I followed when studying for the exam, please do not neglect the ethics questions. This may seem obvious, but it's actually surprisingly common. Feedback from students whom I tutor for the CFA Level 1 exam tends to go along the following lines. I dislike the ethics material, therefore I'm going to skip every ethics question in the exam and focus on the other areas of the syllabus. I've looked at the CFA Level 1 exam weightings, and even if I get every single ethics question wrong in the exam, I can still obtain 85% of the marks and therefore pass the CFA Level 1 exam, assuming the minimum pass mark is around 70%. Sadly, this doesn't quite work in practice because some of the areas of the CFA Level 1 exam are actually quite hard. For example, in economics and fixed income, it's unlikely you're going to be getting 100% of the questions correct, and this puts you at risk of failing the exam. And secondly, a lot of the ethics material and questions are straightforward. These are easy marks that we want to be picking up on the exam day, so you do not want to be neglecting this syllabus area. Now that we've established that we won't be skipping any of the ethics questions, let's talk about how we can best learn the ethics material. For brushing up on your ethics and areas of the CFA Level 1 exam in general, the CFA accredited textbooks and Tracer notes are your friends. That being said, when I was preparing for the CFA Level 1 exam, my approach for ethics in particular was to focus on the accredited textbooks. The reason for this is because I've read a lot of online forums, and candidates generally believe that the ethics material in the CFA textbook is more challenging than that in the Tracer notes. So if you're a little unsure on how to approach the CFA ethics material, you might want to follow a similar approach to me and focus on the CFA textbook. Now within the CFA textbook, the ethics material can be broadly categorized into two areas, that is the Code of Ethics and the Standards for Professional Conduct. Example questions in the CFA textbook will generally come from two angles. Firstly, can you recall the Code of Ethics or the Standards for Professional Conduct? Or secondly, given a hypothetical scenario, can you identify whether a standard or a code of ethic has been violated? And to that point, the CFA question setters have another lever which they can pull within the Standards of Professional Conduct. That is, what is a requirement of the standard and what is recommended of the standard. So clearly there is a lot of memorizing for the ethics material, and it is a bit of a memory test. If you're struggling learning the ethics material, I can share a tip which helped me in preparing for the exam. That was to come up with a specific example for each of the standards, both what is recommended example and what is required example, and that way you can refer back to that example as a benchmark for the exam. If you follow this process efficiently, it should really only take you a couple of days to study the CFA Level 1 material end to end, and this leaves you a lot of time left to practice that content. So that's how you learn ethics. Now let's focus on how you practice the ethics material. You can do those practice questions free of charge on the CFA portal, where you'll find in-chapter questions, end-of-chapter questions, question banks and mock exam papers. In addition, if you exhaust all those sources of practice questions, Tracer also developed question banks and mock exam papers. And when you're doing the practice questions and mock exam papers, it's important to maintain strict time conditions. Again, you're not only being tested on the content you know, but also your ability to time manage during the exam. So that's it for today's video. In summary, we've talked about how you shouldn't neglect the ethics material. We've also talked about how best to learn the material, that's coming up with a specific example for each of the Code of Ethics and Standards of Professional Conduct that you can refer back to as a benchmark during the exam. And finally, we've talked about how best to practice the ethics material, that's doing lots and lots of practice questions. Thank you very much for watching today's video. If you do have any questions on the ethics material, please do leave a comment in the section below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more of the same content, you might want to subscribe to the channel. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to say about ethics. I hope you have a lovely day and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!